when Kennedy Carter hip-checked Caitlin. Was that a basketball play? Absolutely not. Was Kennedy wrong? 100%. It was not as hard as people say, but it was everywhere. When Alyssa Thomas clotheslined Angel and took her out, that was worse than what Kennedy did.
Facts.
But where was the uproar? Tell me why.
One's a villain.
Who?
The one who says she's a villain. What I'm saying is if Draymond right now gets closed by somebody, there's no uproar.
Case of Angel Reese, who's just had to shut it down because of a wrist injury. Caitlin Clark, who's continuing to play. Rivalry that goes back to their college days, presumably, where I guess some trash talking entered in. But now it seems on some social media channels to have taken a darker turn, a more menacing turn, where race has been introduced into the conversation, where sexuality is sometimes introduced into the conversation. How do you try and stay ahead of that, try and tamp it down, or act as a league when two of your most visible players are involved, not personally, it would seem, but their fan bases are involved in saying some very uncharitable things about the other?
Well, the one thing that's great about the league right now, we do sit at this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music. Like the WNBA players are really looked at now as kind of cultural icons.
True.
And when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college.
WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert is in hot water after comments regarding the rivalry between college stars Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. What initially seemed like a routine media moment has quickly morphed into a firestorm, sparking intense conversations among players and fans alike. During a recent segment on CNBC's Power Lunch, Engelbert was asked how the league plans to navigate the less savory aspects of the rivalry, especially given the racially charged dialogue that has cropped up online. While she acknowledged the negativity, Engelbert shifted focus to the marketing potential, likening the rivalry to the legendary Magic Johnson-Larry Bird rivalry from 1979.
With these two, but the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another. So the social media is different today than it was in 1979 when it didn't exist. But, you know, I always tell the players, you know, I was told a long time ago, if someone's typing something in and you wouldn't ask their advice, ignore it. So it's a balance, but certainly from a marketing dollars, but corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players much more so than they were.
This statement is spreading across social media. Just look at what's Ken Swift's tweeted. WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert on the toxicity that spawned from the Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese rivalry. Seems to me the WNBA media who keeps chastising the fans is running counter to what the commissioner wants. Let me know what you think. This is Me4Now reacted on Twitter. Honestly, the WNBA media knows that too, because they could diminish it, but they fuel the flame every single day. Pink Puma tweeted, "It's been clear from day one the league officials are trying to capitalize off of Clark, and the players and coaches are trying to ruin it." However, Engelbert's comments didn't sit well with many prominent WNBA players, particularly black athletes, who felt she glossed over critical issues. Connecticut Sun guard Dejounte Carrington didn't hold back, expressing her disappointment that Engelbert missed an opportunity to confront racism directly. "It was eye-opening because of what we've experienced this season," Carrington remarked. "Some of it has been pretty sickening, and it should have been called out. The news is spreading like wildfire. Check out what our Female Athlete Network post on Reddit. WNBA players seemingly react to Cathy Engelbert's controversial Caitlin Clark Angel Reese comments. New York Liberty star Breanna Stewart echoed Carrington's sentiment, labeling the comments disappointing. Three-time WNBA champion Chelsea Gray took it a step further, voicing her frustration at the perceived downplaying of the racial undertones surrounding the rivalry. "There's a responsibility when you're in that position to address things head-on," Gray noted, suggesting Engelbert missed a crucial opportunity to confront these vital issues. "It's not enough to brush it aside." Engelbert's comparison to the Bird-Johnson rivalry has ignited further debate. While that iconic competition helped elevate the NBA, many feel that the comparison diminishes the complexities that female athletes, especially black women, face today, both on and off the court. There's a growing consensus that Engelbert should have taken a firmer stand against the racial attacks that have followed Clark and Reese's rise to stardom. The backlash has initiated a robust dialogue within the league, with players questioning whether the WNBA is doing enough to safeguard its athletes from the harsh realities of public scrutiny. Although Engelbert emphasized the rivalry's importance for the league's growth, the conversation has shifted dramatically. Players are making it abundantly clear that issues of race and respect deserve far more attention than mere marketing benefits. As this dialogue evolves, it remains uncertain whether Engelbert will issue a follow-up statement to clarify her stance. One thing is clear: the voices of WNBA players are resonating louder than ever, and they're demanding a more proactive approach from their leadership. The stakes are high, and the call for accountability is echoing throughout the league. This situation serves as a reminder that while rivalries can drive interest, they also come with the responsibility of addressing broader societal issues. The WNBA is at a pivotal moment, and how Engelbert chooses to navigate this conversation could have lasting implications for the league and its players. The players are ready to hold their commissioner accountable, emphasizing that the fight for equality and respect goes far beyond the court.
Because the African-American lesbian players were going overboard in their racism and sexism on Caitlin Clark. Lynn and the WNBA had to send different videos et al. To the league to get this crap to stop, and the league has, for the most part, stopped.
This shocking admission reveals the internal struggles that Caitlin Clark has faced, not just from the fans, but even from within the WNBA itself. It's hard to believe, but the racism and sexism directed at her were so rampant that the league had to step in.
It seems on some social media channels to have taken a darker turn, a more menacing turn, where race has been introduced into the conversation, where sexuality is sometimes introduced into the conversation. How do you try and stay ahead of that, try and tamp it down, or act as a league when two of your most visible players are involved, not personally, it would seem, but their fan bases are involved in saying some very uncharitable things about.
This was the turning point when the conversations around Caitlin Clark's performance started moving away from basketball and into darker territory. Race and sexuality became the focus of an escalating controversy.
One thing that's great about the league right now, we do sit at this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music. Like, the WNBA players are really looked at now as cultural icons.
True.
And when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry, one white, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But
while Engelbert tries to frame this as a historic rivalry moment, it's far from that. The issues surrounding Clark and her competitors aren't just about sports. It's a reflection of the larger problems in the league.
Well, I mean, might as well. Caitlin Clark, they got their ass beat last night. But, man, Charles Barkley said this a couple days ago, that the WNBA could not have effed this up more. Cathy Engelbert, who is the commissioner, is facing criticism from members of the Players Association for not condemning racism and homophobia, which was, of course, and inevitably tied back to Caitlin Clark.
Barkley lays it all out. This was a failure on multiple levels, and now Clark is at the center of it all. The league's inability to handle these tensions has left everyone watching.
You answered them in private. Awful Announcing said her response was not only lackluster. Oh, really? It lacked of any substance. Well, so what? She's right. This is months ago, you idiots at Awful Announcing. What are you talking about? Engelbert's word salad reply.
Even media outlets are calling out the league's inability to tackle these issues head on. Caitlin Clark may be a top performer, but the WNBA's handling of the controversies surrounding her is far from winning any accolades. The relationships I create here are my legacy. Caitlin Clark quite clearly announced back in Iowa just what she thought mattered the most to her. And now, as she continues to thrill the WNBA crowd with her record-breaking displays, she stands by her words. When the generational talent was drafted as the first overall pick this year, she was not the only one joining the league after shining for the Hawkeyes. Kate Martin was another Iowa alum who entered the big stage, joining the Las Vegas Aces. As their third encounter comes close, Clark is ready to host her former teammate just as nicely. In her recent media availability, the Fever guard talked about welcoming Kate Martin to Indianapolis. She said, "It's definitely pretty weird to us, like we were teammates for 4 years. We got very used to that and now going against." So then like you love it, you joke about it, but at the same time, it just takes some getting used to. I know a lot of our coaches will be here on the same night. Looks like a fun thing for all of them to be able to do too, and sharing that memory and that joy with us. But I'm just super proud of her and happy for her. The 22-year-old guard also hinted towards her former Iowa head coach, Lisa Bluder, making an attendance when Fever will lock horns with the Aces on Wednesday. Both of the WNBA rookies played 4 years together with Bluder at the helm and led the Hawkeyes to back-to-back NCAA finals. When the duo bid adieu to their alma mater, the 63-year-old also decided to step down from the coaching role. While Caitlin Clark has definitely been the talk of the town with her exceptional rookie season, her best friend Martin is yet to have a firm grip with Aces. Nevertheless, she has always found her college best friend acknowledging her and their friendship. The friendship between the opponent rookies, back in May, the former college teammates faced for the very first time in W. While the excitement among enthusiasts was obvious, Clark only made the matchup even more interesting when she opened up on her bond with the Aces rookie. "Kate is obviously one of my best friends, somebody that was with me all 4 years at Iowa. I was the person that kind of begged her to come back for her 6th year," said the Fever number 22. After taking a redshirt year and benefiting from the NCAA's COVID-19 eligibility extension, Martin announced in February 2023 that she would be returning for a 6th and final season with the Hawkeyes. She, along with Clark, led the team to the finals, but could not sweep the championship after falling to the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Caitlin isn't much of a defender either. 2/3 of the way through the year, it was clear she was on an all-time record turnover pace. And for 2/3 of the year, Caitlin's three-point shooting ranked near the bottom of the league in percentage. I still get frustrated because she won't shoot enough in fourth quarters because she defers to her vets. Angel Reese is actually a poor defender. Angel's team has now fallen to 11-22, so she isn't having nearly the impact that Caitlin is having on her team. Angel Reese is better than Caitlin Clark, is saying Rodman was better than Michael Jordan. The truth is, Angel's a poor shooter of the basketball. I don't know any other way to say it. She's just a poor shooter.
Skip didn't hold back when it came to discussing two of the WNBA's most talked about rookies, Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Let's see how Skip absolutely destroyed these young stars.
Caitlin isn't much of a defender either, though she can and she will steal the basketball. She's 15th in the WNBA in steals.
First up, let's talk about Caitlin Clark. Now, we all know she's been making waves in the league, but Skip's not buying all the hype. He starts off by dropping this bomb. Caitlin isn't much of a defender either. Ouch. That's gotta hurt for all the Clark fans out there. But wait, there's more.
2/3 of the way through the year, it was clear she was on an all-time record turnover pace, the likes of which I have never witnessed. It's almost like she was trying to turn the basketball over.
Skip doesn't stop there. He goes on to absolutely roast Clark's ball handling skills. According to Skip, 2/3 of the way through the year, it was clear she was on an all-time record turnover pace. An all-time record? That's not the kind of history you want to be making in your rookie year, Caitlin.
Caitlin's three-point shooting ranked near the bottom of the league in percentage. Yet, you're right. The truth is...
But hold on to your seats, folks, because Skip's just warming up. He then takes aim at Clark's shooting, saying, "For 2/3 of the year, Caitlin's three-point shooting ranked near the bottom of the league in percentage." Near the bottom of the league? That's not what you expect from someone who's supposed to be a sharpshooter.
I still get frustrated because she won't shoot enough in fourth quarters because she defers to her vets. She's got horrendous pressure on her.
And just when you think Skip's done with Clark, he delivers this final blow. I still get frustrated because she won't shoot enough in fourth quarters because she defers to her vets. Looks like Skip thinks Clark needs to step up and take charge in crunch time. No mercy from Bayless today. Now let's turn our attention to Angel Reese. If you thought Skip was harsh on Clark, wait till you hear what he had to say about Reese.
Angel Reese is actually a poor defender, Brittany.
Right out of the gate, Skip drops this bombshell. Angel Reese is actually a poor defender. Wow. For someone who's known for her physical presence on the court, that's a pretty damning assessment from Skip.
Angel's team has now fallen to 11-22, so she isn't having nearly the impact that Caitlin is having on her team.
But Skip's just getting started. He goes on to question Reese's impact on her team, stating, Angel's team has now fallen to 11-22, so she isn't having nearly the impact that Caitlin is having on her team. Ouch. Skip's basically saying Reese isn't living up to the hype and isn't making her team better. That's gotta sting.
Angel Reese is better than Caitlin Clark, is saying Rodman was better than Michael Jordan, or Ben Wallace was better than Kobe.
And if you thought that was harsh, wait till you hear this. Skip actually compares the idea of Reese being better than Clark to saying Rodman was better than Michael Jordan. Talk about a brutal analogy. Skip's basically saying anyone who thinks Reese is better than Clark is out of their mind.
Angel's a poor shooter of the basketball. I don't know any other way to say it. She's just a poor shooter. She's now 38% from the floor, not from three. She's 2 of 12 from three. That's 17%.
But the knockout punch comes when Skip talks about Reese's shooting. He doesn't mince words here, folks. Skip straight up says, the truth is and was a poor shooter of the basketball. I don't know any other way to say it. She's just a poor shooter. No sugarcoating there. Skip's calling it like he sees it, and he sees Reese as a liability on offense. Now you might be thinking, wow, Skip really went in on these two, and you'd be right. But here's where things get interesting. Despite all these criticisms, Skip actually ends up praising Clark quite a bit throughout the rest of the segment. He calls her a once-a-generation passer and even suggests she could be pushing for MVP. So what's the deal? Is Skip playing both sides? Or is he just being brutally honest about both the strengths and weaknesses of these young stars? One thing's for sure. Skip Bayless knows how to stir up controversy. By pointing out these flaws in Clark and Reese's games, he's guaranteed to get people talking. And isn't that what sports media is all about? But let's take a step back for a moment. Are Skip's criticisms fair? Is he being too harsh on these rookies who are still finding their footing in the league? Or is this tough love exactly what they need to hear to improve their games? It's worth noting that both Clark and Reese have had incredible success in their college careers. They're adjusting to a new level of play, facing the best of the best night in and night out. Growing pains are to be expected, but in the high-stakes world of professional sports, you're only as good as your last game. Skip's comments raise some interesting questions about expectations in the WNBA. Are we putting too much pressure on these young stars to be perfect right out of the gate? Or is this level of scrutiny just part of being a high-profile athlete? One thing's for certain. Both Clark and Reese have shown flashes of brilliance in their rookie seasons. They've also both shown areas where they need to improve. That's the nature of the game. Even the greatest players have aspects of their game they need to work on. So, what do you think? Did Skip Bayless go too far in his criticisms? Or is he just doing his job by providing honest, unfiltered analysis? Are Clark and Reese getting a raw deal? Or do they need to step up their games? Whatever your opinion, one thing's for sure. The WNBA is more exciting than ever with young talents like Clark and Reese in the league. And as long as there are players making waves, you can bet Skip Bayless will be there with his hot takes, ready to stir the pot and keep us all talking. Caitlin Clark's second triple-double also makes her the third player in WNBA history to finish a game with 20-plus points, 10-plus rebounds, 10-plus assists, 3-plus STL. This tweet alone shows how Caitlin Clark continues to make history. In tonight's game, she once again showcased why she's one of the most dynamic rookies the league has ever seen. If an argument for Caitlin Clark as the MVP had to be made, there are undeniable factors supporting it. Indiana Fever has gone from winning a dozen games last season to 18-16, improved to a 500 and are real playoff contenders. Meanwhile, Clark's picking up 3-point and assist records as a great passer and helping her team. So when the star rookie recorded her second career triple-double tonight, she aided Aaliyah Boston in making history herself. Not to be underscored, Boston had an impressive outing that puts her in league with WNBA titans like Lisa Leslie and Brittany Griner. Indiana Fever toppled the Los Angeles Sparks 93-86, with Aaliyah Boston recording a monster double-double with 24 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 assists, going 62.5% from the field. She's now only the third player in WNBA history to have multiple games in one regular season with 20-plus points, 14-plus rebounds, 4-plus assists, and 60% field goal percentage. The only others who have accomplished this are Lisa Leslie and the one who Boston recently clashed with, Brittany Griner. Caitlin Clark notched the second triple-double of her career, 24 points, 10 assists, 10 rebounds in this game. She's the only rookie to do it twice in the league. She also made 4 threes and had 3 steals. She got her first triple-double in July over New York Liberty. Her selfless passing style stood out in this game over the Sparks that a few ex-users compared her to Magic Johnson, the Lakers legend and Sparks co-owner, and it definitely enabled Aaliyah to record her own individual accolade.
Or Timmy Finlay not shooting the three that easily or that comfortably. I don't know if that's comfortable, but it's nice by Caitlin Clark.
The buzz and attention surrounding Caitlin Clark's game are unlike anything seen in the league until now. The jersey sales, the sold-out stadiums, the peak viewership, this massive wave of popularity mirrors the excitement that swept through the NBA in the 80s when Michael Jordan became a household name. So WNBA analyst Nancy Lieberman believes that Clark deserves admiration as MJ does, as opposed to the lack of recognition or criticism that may come her way. Calling out the critics and haters, Lieberman on the Stephen A. Smith Show said, "I just don't understand people. Now you have signature shoes for both men and women because of what MJ did and how he and his team constructed business. Caitlin is doing that right now, and she should be supported and not maligned for that." Lieberman's claims about Clark's influence are understandable when we bring Clark's $28 million Nike deal, which is the most lucrative shoe deal in WNBA history. Clark is soon expected to receive her own signature shoe as well. Jordan's wasn't quite hushed itself. 5-year, $2.5 million deal, 3 times that of any other deal in the league. Thus drawing parallels, Lieberman continues on to say that it is jealousy that is driving the lack of support toward Caitlin Clark as previously observed towards other notable players like Jordan or Tiger Woods. It's not a Caitlin thing, it's a people thing. I mean, people were so jealous of Michael Jordan back in 1984. UNC Chicago Stadium was half empty prior to him arriving. The stadiums were filling up then. TV wanted him and the Bulls on every game, she says. Expanding on her point, Lieberman further exampled Woods as the catalyst to change in golf in terms of purse and TV ratings. All of a sudden, he gets to a certain point in his career and people are jealous and envious, you know, Lieberman notes. Clark's impact? Within just 20 minutes, fans snapped up Clark's WNBA All-Star jersey in both colors, selling out completely. The Indiana Fever leads the league in attendance, recording a 265% jump from last season with a turn-up number of 503,921 across 31 games. Lieberman's opinions were a continuation of her praise for the rookie from her most recent game. Nancy Lieberman expresses her gratitude for Caitlin Clark. Instead of just urging the fans, Lieberman took the lead herself. During the broadcast of the Fever vs. Dallas Wings game, the analyst had high praise for the rookie. Fully aware that her bold statement might draw criticism, Lieberman chose to speak her mind. She thanked Clark for drawing attention to the game. The WNBA 2024 season began with the highest attendance ever seen in 27 years. The continuous rise in viewership backs the claim, with the games averaging 1.32 million viewers in the first month, nearly triple last year's average. Fans voting for the All-Star has been the highest this year. What Caitlin Clark has done for the game is generational. As a baller to a baller, I just want to say thank you to you, Caitlin Clark, for just lifting our game up, Lieberman said. And she isn't the first one to think so. She added, you and so many great players, but what you're doing, you're going to make all these women multi-millionaires one day like Tiger did, like Michael Jordan did. And we shouldn't hate on her. We should celebrate her, not tolerate her. The growing crowds in the stadium are live proof of Clark's impact. The Fever rookie has undeniably transformed women's basketball, and she indeed does it in a way reminiscent of what MJ once did for the NBA.
Congratulations. Thank you. I'm not the you. I'm not the
If you're a college player and you're a great college player like Caitlin was,
and you thought this was going to be Paige, and instead it's Caitlin.
The delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players.
Gino, just say you're a UConn guy.
Caitlin Clark is buzzing as one of the best rookies in WNBA history.
Caitlin Clark is a superstar. Not a female superstar, she is a superstar.
She's not just average, she's incredibly talented, especially for her age and limited experience.
You already have a pretty high level of basketball, and then you add in a superstar in Caitlin Clark to the league, could be pretty dope.
One person saw her potential, Gino Auriemma.
Yeah, but she needs to be on a better. She needs to be on a better team, and she needs to be more experienced, and that will come.
It can be upsetting when well-known people in basketball, especially fans of women's basketball, have misguided opinions.
But for these ridiculous fans who had her slotted as the next Diana, now they're out of their mind. And for these people that are waiting outside the bus for the Chicago Sky team, what the hell's wrong? What do we become, a third world soccer country?
So does Cheryl Swoops.
Every time Caitlin gets fouled, we can't make it seem like she was assaulted.
Although I won't mention any names, it's clear that others have also missed the point.
That I made those comments because I'm a racist. Like, first of all, black people can't be racist.
Let me share a quote from Gino Auriemma, a top expert on women's basketball. A few months ago, he was on Dan Patrick's show while the Fever were having a tough time. The timing was ironic because Caitlin Clark had just scored 30 points against the Washington Mystics that same night.
They have two different types of games.
Here's what Gino said. This kid's on the wrong team. She doesn't have the skills to handle the physicality in the league. This was said right after Caitlin Clark had just scored 30 points, and to emphasize, she had just reached her second 30-point game. Since then, Caitlin Clark has added another 30-point game to her achievements.
I think when your team wins and wins a lot, I think you draw a lot of attention to yourself.
At Gino's interview, Caitlin Clark had achieved 2. Remember, she's still a rookie.
You know, when people say, who's the best player? Well, who's the best team? I mean, that's as it happens in the pros, right? Who's the best player in the country? Who's the most valuable player in America? Well, let's go look at the best team and pick their best player.
This rookie class isn't even a top 10 of the last decade. Yet, he insists she's not tough enough for the league.
And had we kept winning, you know, I don't know that Paige would be any bigger or less talked about. And I don't know that she would have the kind of impact that Caitlin's had because they have different personalities, different games. They approach the game differently. And it works for both of them. I don't know, but it would have been nice to find out.
He said she's not fast enough to avoid the physical play. Meanwhile, Gino, a UConn fan, expected Paige Bueckers to shine.
We are in a red-blue. And if you're red, you can't agree with blue. And if you're blue, you can't agree with red. Whereas most things are in the middle.
Caitlin Clark is the standout. Everyone believed the 2020 ESPN recruiting class was special.
So I think that'll be good for her. I find so much of the Caitlin Clark discussion is actually about the Caitlin Clark discussion and retroactively angry about why we weren't talking about the WNBA more then, but now we talk about it now. People get mad at that. So here's the thing. I think it is very clear what's happening. There's a little bit of rookie hazing. There's a little bit of jealousy. And like everything in America, there's a little bit of racial dynamics at play here too.
The 2020 ESPN 100 was notable, especially especially for Paige Bueckers. However, claiming Caitlin Clark was always better isn't entirely accurate. During high school, Clark was not considered superior to Bueckers.
If you're a college player and you're a great college player like Caitlin was, the delusional fan base that follows her disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart.
Paige Bueckers was seen as one of the best guard recruits ever. She had no weaknesses, was a true game changer, and was the top prospect in the 2020 class.
There were actually odds on she's third or fourth in betting odds on being MVP at the WNBA. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid that it gives women's basketball a bad name.
She was truly exceptional. As a freshman, she outshone Ryan Howard to win the College Player of the Year award. Moreover, Paige earned MVP honors with Team USA teams, 2 years her senior.
Okay, so the kid was set up for failure right from the beginning. So if you're a WNBA player, and believe me, I've coached the best, and I've pissed them off a lot, and they let me know about it. But they were tremendously disrespected. And none of them are going to say it, but human nature is, okay, this kid's coming into the league. And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening.
She surpassed Ryan Howard, Jordan Horston, and Caitlin Clark. Indeed, Caitlin Clark has remarkable stats. With Lisa Bluter's guidance, she could become the best.
Yeah, and she's not quick enough to get away from the physicality. So there's a lot of learning curve, like Diana said. And when she gets it, she has elite skills that are going to really help.
I'm not doubting Caitlin Clark's potential. However, Lisa Bluter's influence is evident. Paige Bueckers in high school played as freely as Clark does now. After her first injury, Paige thrived under Gino Auriemma, showing more efficiency than Clark, despite having less responsibility.
I think she's handling great. I think she talks a lot of and she gets a lot of back. So she deserves everything she gets because she gives it as good as she gets it. She's just not built for the physicality of this league.
This class was exceptional, featuring 5 players likely to be top draft picks. Diamond Johnson is already in the WNBA. Haley Van Lith is set for next year's draft, though her position is uncertain. Meanwhile, Tahina Popa is expected to be a first-round pick. I can't see anyone else from this class dropping lower. It was a landmark class. However, the top UConn recruit fell short of expectations.
And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player, you're going to say, I'm going to make a statement. Targeted by society, targeted by her looks, targeted by her reputation, targeted by the disrespect that they've shown to the WNBA. There's a huge target on this kid's back. I thought Cameron Brink said something really smart. She said, no, they're expecting this rookie class to be perfect.
2016 was Sabrina Ionescu's year. Now, Gino Auriemma still praises Katie Lou Samuelson. I like her as a person, but her WNBA career hasn't been great.
And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's printing. Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league, and she's a rookie.
I'm confused by the Indiana Fever's decision to sign her. It's true you can't trade someone for being pregnant. However, giving a max contract after a year off for a baby seems strange. Before her break, she only averaged 5 points per game with the Sparks, yet she still got a max deal. Surprisingly, she's not even the best in her family. Her sister Carly is better. But then there's Auriemma. He's loyal to UConn.
This rookie class isn't even one of the best rookie classes in the last 10 years.
Nick Wright missed a key part of Gino Auriemma's quote. Auriemma claimed, "I've coached the best players in the league." This highlights the issue.
Gino Auriemma was on with my pal Dan Patrick a couple months ago when the Fever were struggling. And this was the quote. "This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality in the league, and she's a rookie. This rookie class isn't even one of the best classes in the last 10 years. She's just not built for the physicality of this league. She's not quick enough to get away from the physicality." End quote. Gino, just say you're a UConn guy.
We've seen this with Team USA selections. Gino Auriemma overlooked MVP Nneka Ogwumike, the champion, to pick Brianna Stewart from college. He will always choose a UConn player over others for Team USA.
What does bother me is some of the people I deeply respect, their basketball credentials, their basketball history, their commitment to basketball and women's basketball, I think have really not covered themselves in glory with some of this commentary.
This is a problem. Nick Wright is correct. Caitlin Clark didn't choose UConn. Moreover, Gino Auriemma's preferred guard style, which led to many national titles, no longer fits as well.
And I'm going to read you a quote, Colin, if I may, from, again, this person might know more about about women's basketball than any person who's ever lived, and that's Gino Auriemma.
These young players aren't learning that style anymore. Also, Gino Auriemma hasn't won a championship in 7 years. Meanwhile, Dawn Staley has surpassed him, becoming what he once was. Moreover, Auriemma has also lost to Caitlin Clark.
I have to congratulate Iowa on an incredible season. Awesome. And I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. She carried a heavy load for our sport. And it just is not going to stop here on the collegiate tour. But when she is the #1 pick in the WNBA draft, she's going to lift that league up as well. So Caitlin Clark, if you're out there, you are one of the GOATs of our games. We appreciate you.
He lost to Caitlin Clark. Hannah Staley was at center, and Gabby Marshall guarded Paige Bieckers, despite Paige's 7-inch height advantage.
And you thought this was going to be Paige, and instead it's Caitlin.
Gino Auriemma might not be at his peak anymore, but he's still among the greatest coaches ever. A Hall of Famer, he's ranked among the best in college coaching and has certainly earned his salary at UConn. Yet, Nick Wright's point is valid.
The people don't want to get yelled at, so now all of a sudden we're doing participation trophies. Now all of a sudden we are going to try to pretend like Angel, who again is having a 91 out of 100 rookie season, is on par with Caitlin's rookie season, which is one of the greatest rookie seasons in the history of the league, if not the greatest.
Gino Auriemma appears to be stuck in his ways. It's not just that Caitlin Clark turned down UConn, her playing style also differs greatly from the typical WNBA approach.
I saw where you said the WNBA, they're targeting Caitlin Clark. What do you mean by how she's being guarded or, enforced?
I think you and I both know the landscape that we live in today, both sports-wise and non-sports-wise, right?
Some may argue that Caitlin Clark's style isn't suited for the WNBA, but defenders are struggling to keep up with her.
And it's just embarrassing. Guys, we have to be able to have honest conversations about sports, even if it goes against some of our priors or some of our allies on the internet.
Athletes who learned from coaches like Gino Auriemma and Dawn Staley, who preferred a more traditional WNBA style, are struggling to adapt. That style is like NBA basketball from 25 years ago.
Nobody with a straight face can say there is a real debate about who the most impactful or best rookie in women's basketball has been this year. It's Caitlin Clark.
No one can honestly debate this year's best rookie in women's basketball. It's Caitlin Clark.
But Caitlin Clark's arguably already one of the 5 best players in the league. Inarguably one of the 8 best players in the league.
It refers to Dan Hughes's contributions from 2 decades ago. His approach was innovative then. Now, however, the women's game appears to lag in strategy by about 25 years.
We got to be able to say that. There should be 2 unanimous awards in the WNBA this year. The MVP should be unanimously to Asia Wilson, every single first place vote. And Rookie of the Year should be unanimously to Caitlin Clark, every single first place vote.
Next, let's talk about the Phoenix Mercury. They've sparked talk about Diana Taurasi possibly retiring. Taurasi is among basketball's best. The team tweeted, "If this is it, you have 2 more chances to see the greatest at home." This sparked varied responses. It got about 891 likes, hinting some fans might be doubtful. Now many are wondering, is this a real retirement hint or just a ticket sales tactic?
Obviously, a lot was made of this matchup between yourself and Diana Taurasi. I know she's one of your idols. How big is it for you to get a win here against her today?
I'm just happy we won. It was cool to play against her, and obviously a really great game. And like you said, this crowd was absolutely incredible.
Taurasi has faced retirement rumors before, and fans are eager to see her play one last time. Some speculate that the Mercury might be trying to build excitement for their last home games, while others are hoping for a championship run before she retires. I really want to see her end her career on a high note, but I doubt that's likely. I think she's set to play in the upcoming Olympics, though that might not be allowed. Let's be real. If this is it, her final home game will be in Los Angeles on Tuesday, September 17th.
You look superhuman playing against 18-year-olds, but you're going to come with some grown women that have been playing professional basketball for a long time. Not saying that it's not going to translate, because when you're great at what you do, you're just going to get better. But there is going to be a transition period where you're going to have to give yourself some grace as a rookie. And, it might take a little bit longer for some people.
That game will be the Sparks' last home match of 2024. I can see her starting a retirement tour. By taking a lower salary, she could play another year. This would allow the team to bring in another top player. She'd be joining Skylar Diggins-Smith, Sophie Cunningham, Diamond DeShields, and Brittany Griner. I don't think she should keep playing, but she could. It's not impossible for Diana Taurasi to continue, though it might put the Mercury in a tough spot.
No, I think my favorite part about Dee is similar. She keeps it honest, she keeps it real. But we've been in so many scenarios, right? Whether it's living overseas together in Russia, playing against each other in the WNBA.
The Instagram live video, that was amazing.
Pop my cherry.
I wouldn't mind if Taurasi picked a different path. Considering her legacy is important, she's done a lot. I suggest she signs a minimum deal with the Indiana Fever. This would create a passing of the torch moment. Imagine Caitlin Clark and Diana Taurasi on the same team. Taurasi, coming off the bench in her final year, could chase a championship. This would boost her legacy.
It doesn't matter on our team. Now, the other coaches might say, well, you can do that because you got 3 other, All-Americans. I get that. I understand that. But I'd rather lose than watch kids play the way some kids play. I'd rather lose.
Imagine every game as a farewell tour with Caitlin Clark. Fans would be thrilled for Taurasi's goodbye. If Taurasi takes a low contract, they can keep Kelsey Mitchell and bring Taurasi off the bench.
Putting a team together just is fascinating because there's so many components. I mean, obviously, there's so much to learn.
I think you could. I think you will get that chance.
I mean,
I do think you will, if you want it.
Imagine her replacing Kelsey Mitchell or Caitlin Clark. Taurasi could even play point guard if she wanted. Now, picture a lineup with Caitlin Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and likely Aaliyah Boston at power forward. Fans are curious about her retirement plans. Some think she's hinting at it, but I believe she's not ready to retire.
You have to show up.
571 times.
This doesn't happen if you don't show up consistently. And Sue has done that more than anyone. She shows up. She shows up during the off season, getting in the best shape possible to come back and be the best leader for her team. She shows up every single time. Oh, it's always great. Every year is a different journey. And I think that's the best thing about being in a team sport. That
some think she announced her retirement 10 days early to boost ticket sales. Maybe she wants to join another team like the Chicago Sky. However, leaving the Mercury seems unlikely. Since the Olympic break, she's averaged 13.2 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 2.8 assists per game. Clearly, she's still playing at an all-star level.
When you have training camp in the city, you practice and then everyone goes and they're busy. But, we're going to be in San Diego for 5 days and really get to know each other. We have a brand new group, and I think it'll be a great opportunity to get to know each other and start, building chemistry as a team.